Hi, good morning. It is Thursday, March 18th, and I'm here to read chapter 4 of Maria Isabel. With me, I have the cutest little doggie in the world. Her name is Juno. Look up, Juno, look up. You see the nice people? You don't care. She mostly likes to sleep and eat. She's very cute. All right. We'll see if she interacts at all while we're reading, but I'm not sure because she is having one of her many scheduled nap times. During chapter 4, you should think about how Maria feels about school in this chapter and why. All right. Chapter 4, Mary Lopez. The next day, Maria Isabel found out that the girl in the plaid dress was one of the Marias in class, Maria Fernandez. The other Maria, Maria Sanchez, had very long braids and spent all her time at recess with her older sister. Maria Isabel, on the other hand, began spending recess with Maria Fernandez and Marta Perez. She even jumped rope when they asked her to, even though her knee still hurt a little. Over the next few days, she got used to the rhythm of the school day. There was reading and math in the morning. Their teacher stressed doing well in math, and this was fine with Maria Isabel. She never had a problem working with numbers. But best of all, Marta Perez came up to her during lunch one day and said, "Come with me. I'll show you where the library is. They have tons of magazines." Can we go without the teacher?" asked Maria Isabel. "Sure, we can go whenever we want to at lunchtime," replied Marta, pointing at an open door down the hall. "Great," said Maria Isabel. "At my other school, we could only go to the library when the teacher took the class." The librarian was sitting at her desk behind some piles of books. She looked up as the girls came in and smiled warmly. Maria Isabel felt that her smile was an invitation to feel at home. Marta went straight to the magazines and grabbed a pile. She sat down on the rug, crossed her legs, and started to read a Batman comic. Maria Isabel wandered between the stacks of books. She had never been left alone with so many books before, and she wasn't sure which one to pick. She looked at the titles carefully. Every now and then, she took a book off the shelf to look at the cover. She was holding a book in her hand when she realized the librarian was standing right next to her. Maria Isabel was surprised because she had not heard the librarian walk up to her, but she felt at ease looking into the woman's sparkling eyes. The librarian bent down and said quietly, as if she and Maria Isabel were sharing a secret, "Take it. You'll really like it." Side note, the book that she ends up taking is a book that you guys are all very familiar with, and you'll find out later what that book is. Juno, come here. Come here. Oh, Juno is leaving us. Let's see what she's doing. Oh, yeah, she's probably looking for snacks, hoping that I drop something while working here and eating. Now she's heading into the kitchen where she will continue to look for snacks on the ground, I am sure. Okay. As Maria Isabel walked out of the library, she thought, this new school really isn't so bad. It isn't so hard having classes only in English, and Marta Perez is really nice. It's too bad Virginia and Clara aren't here, though. Come here, Juno. Up, up, up. Up, up, up. There we go. Oh, it's a good dog. It's a good dog. Oh, and see, Juno loves being under blankets, but she also knows which blankets are best, so she'll probably be able to tell that my blanket is better than her blanket, and she might fight me for my blanket at some point. She just takes her paw and just goes like this until I give her the blanket that she wants. Okay. But Maria Isabel's teacher lost her patience again that afternoon. The teacher asked if anyone knew who the Pilgrims were. Eric said they were sailors who made a very long trip. Then the teacher turned to Maria Isabel and said, "Would Mary Lopez tell us what she knows about the Pilgrims?" Maria Isabel didn't answer. Again, she didn't realize the teacher was calling on her. If she had known, she would have said that the Pilgrims had come to America looking for a better way of life, and that many others came here after them. Perhaps she would have even dared to say that everyone was a pilgrim in some way. That was what Miss Pedrollade had said. But Maria Isabel didn't say anything, and her teacher was getting angry. She glared at Maria Isabel and said, "When I ask you something, you have to answer, Mary." She turned away and nodded at Solomon, who had raised his hand. "The Pilgrims came to America to have freedom to practice their religion," Solomon answered. Maria Isabel hung her head low for the rest of the afternoon. She worried that all the other kids would think that she was dumb for not having answered the teacher's question. The next day, she had trouble eating her breakfast again, and Antonio was annoyed with her. "I don't want to have to run to the bus today, Belita," he complained. "Make her hurry, Mama. Doesn't she care if she's late for school?" Her mother didn't pay attention to Antonio, but she did help Maria Isabel put on her jacket and gave her her backpack and lunch bag. While they were having a snack that afternoon, Maria Isabel's mother finally asked, "How was school today, Maribel?" Maria Isabel said, "Fine." She didn't know what else to say. She felt she couldn't tell her mother that her math class was going well, but that she had forgotten to answer when her teacher called her Mary again that afternoon, and her teacher always seemed to be upset with her. Antonio, on the other hand, couldn't stop talking about his new friends and about the great band his school had, or about the baseball team. But even though Antonio talked on and on, their mother didn't really seem to listen. She seemed to have a lot on her mind recently. The family had moved because Mr. Salazar had a new job cleaning and maintaining a small group of apartment buildings. As a part of the job, the family could live in one of the apartments. Maria Isabel's parents had been happy about the move because now they wouldn't have to pay rent anymore. Antonio was happy because the apartment had 3 bedrooms and he would finally have a room of his own. And Antonio always liked new things. But Mrs. Salazar was having trouble getting used to the new neighborhood. She couldn't find the ingredients she used in her cooking. She would try to substitute new things, but she wasn't happy with the results. And even though they didn't have to pay rent for the apartment, Mr. Salazar's pay didn't seem to go far enough to make ends meet. If you're making ends meet, that means that his pay isn't really covering maybe all of their bills, all of the food that they want. Making ends meet means you're paying all the bills and you have everything that you need. At dinner that night, Mrs. Salazar announced, "I'm going to look for a job tomorrow. I'll try to be home when you children get home from school, but here is a key to the door in case I'm not." Maria Isabel's mother handed her a key attached to a long pink ribbon. "Come straight home from school and wait for me here. Don't leave the house and don't open the door to anyone." Maria Isabel felt a little strange the next day, walking around with a pink ribbon around her neck. In one way, it wasn't that unusual. She'd always worn something around her neck. First, it had been a pendant with the image of the Virgin Mary, a baptism present from her grandmother. Then she had worn a cross that her godfather had given her when she was 7 years old. Maria Isabel was so used to wearing something around her neck that she usually forgot it was there, but the key was different. At times, it made her feel important and grown up. Maria Isabel noticed that some of the other girls also wore keys, and she felt that they all had something in common. Most of the day, though, the key just made her feel sad. When she finally got home and opened the door, all Maria Isabel found was silence. Her mother wasn't there. Antonio had stayed after school for band practice. Ever since he learned to play the drums, Antonio spent all his free time practicing. The apartment felt like an empty box. Maria Isabel sat down at the kitchen table. She took out a piece of paper and a pencil from her backpack and started to write. Maria Isabel Salazar Lopez. Maria Isabel Salazar Lopez. Maria Isabel Salazar Lopez. Each time she wrote her name, the letters got bigger and bigger until she reached the bottom of the page. Maria Isabel crumpled the paper up into a ball and threw it at the garbage can, but she missed. She thought about how Antonio would tease her about her aim if he were here, and for a moment she was glad to be alone. She got up and put the crumpled page in the trash. Then she went to see what there was to eat in the kitchen cabinet. Maria Isabel had set the table by the time her father got home from work. Dinner was almost ready. A large bowl of salad sat in the center of the table, while the rice and beans on the stovetop were ready to be served. The only thing left to do was to cook the meat. Mrs. Salazar was exhausted when she got home. She plopped down into a chair and took off her shoes. She smiled when she saw the food and the table. After they all sat down to eat, Father said, You've done a wonderful job of helping your mother, Maria Isabel." Her mother quickly added, "The rice is delicious. We did the right thing naming you, Maria Isabel. You're as good a cook as your grandmother Chavela." Antonio didn't say anything, but he did help himself to more beans. Maria Isabel wanted to smile and be happy. She liked pleasing her parents, and she knew she had done a good job making dinner. But the same thought kept running through her head over and over again. How can I feel proud of being named Maria Isabel when I have to listen so carefully every time the teacher calls for Mary Lopez? So that's the end of chapter 4. And if you would like to, I'm going to post a survey to answer the question, how does Maria feel about school during chapter 4 and why? And on that survey, you can also ask me any questions about Juno, who has wandered back upstairs while I was reading. I'll talk to you guys later soon. Bye.